from Group 5, and I am Miles Honors Vidar, and I will going to discuss the life and the works of Jose Rizal. Jose Rizal and the Philippine Nationalism, Bayani and Kabayanihan. So, when you hear the word hero, what does the word mean to you? The word bayani or hero in Filipino is someone who saves somebody's lives. Also, those people who are willing to suffer and sacrifice themselves for the good of the country are worthy enough to be called as such. Being called hero requires a greater act of bravery. And for me, I think that heroes are people who are willing to go above and beyond what they're asked to do. This word means a lot to me. It is also a best describe who is someone who is kind and caring. A hero is someone who inspires others to do better by being kind and compassionate. So, let us discuss who is Jose Protasio Rizal Mercado y Alonso Rialonda, or well known as Jose Rizal. Dr. Jose P. Rizal was a man of intellectual power and artistic talent whom Filipinos honor as their national hero. Rizal is not only admired for possessing intellectual brilliance but also for taking stand and resisting the Spanish colonial government. While his death sparked a revolution to overthrow the tyranny, Rizal will always be remembered for his compassion towards the Filipino people and the country. Jose Protasio Rizal Mercado y Alonso Rialonda is our national hero because he fought for justice and freedom. He did not want people to be ruled by our countrymen, but instead wanted them to be ruled by God. He also wanted to unite all Filipinos under one flag, which is what makes him such a great hero because he was willing to sacrifice his life for his people and their future. And being called a hero does not require sacrificing his or her life for the cause or for the country. Simple acts of serving people are acts of kabayanihan, and that makes a person bayani at the present. A hero can be anyone who steps up and does what needs to be done in order for them to help others or for their country. It is also someone who sacrifices their time and energy for the betterment of others and for the benefit of their country without expecting anything in return. These novels inspired and awakened the sleeping nationalism of the Filipino people. This means the novels of the Jose Rizal, such as No Limitang Here, El Filibusterismo, inspired and awakened the sleeping nationalisms of the Filipino people. The novels are known for their strong anti-colonialist message, which was very influential during the time period in which they were written. And Rizal was executed for the crime of rebellion, and the Philippine Revolution, inspired by parts by his writing, broke out. Our country's national hero, yes, it is Dr. Jose Rizal. Next, he fought and sacrificed himself for the freedom of our nation. Next, he was brave enough to write and express his thoughts against the abusive. Adding the result past the criteria for national heroes. First is, heroes are those who have a concept of a nation and thereafter aspire and struggle for the nation's freedom. In reality, however, a revolution was no end. Revolutions are only the beginning. One cannot aspire to be free only to sink back into bondage. The next is, Heroes are those who define and contribute to a system or life of freedom and order for a nation. Freedom without order will only lead to anarchy. Therefore, heroes are those who make the nation's constitution and laws. To the latter, constitutions are only the beginning, for it is the people living under the constitution that truly constitute a nation. And lastly, heroes are those who contribute to the quality of life and destiny of a nation. Additional criteria for heroes. First is a hero is a part of the people's expression but the process of a people internalization of a hero's life and works takes time with the youth forming a part of the internalization. In this process of internalizing a hero's life, it is important to understand the process of internalization. The youth form a part of this process, so they need to be involved in understanding their heroes' lives and works. This can be done through storytelling and art, as well as through documentaries. The second is, a hero thinks of the future, especially the future generation. A hero thinks about the future generations and how they can benefit from their work. They also think about what kind of impact their work has had on others. This shows that heroes are not only concerned with themselves, but also with other people around them. Last but not the least, the choice of a hero involves not only recounting of an episode or events in history, but of the entire process that made this particular person a hero. The choice of a hero involves not only recounting an episode or events in history, but also involves looking at all aspects of his or her life and work. That will be all. Thank you.
So, social entrepreneurship. In addition to being the pittance and official and non-governmental public health provider, Rizal engaged in what we call social entrepreneurship, perhaps the first Filipino, if not the first Asian, to do so. Social entrepreneurship is an innovative business activity aimed principally at benefiting and transforming the community in which is undertaken, with most of the profit reinvested back into the community. Community development. In his 4 years in Dapitan, Rizal played multiple roles: doctor, social worker, farmer, social entrepreneur, public work engineers, town planner, school founder, teacher, and scientist. He worked with the people as a civic volunteer, for he was unwaged and without an official title. Whatever earnings he made from his social entrepreneurship and his wealthy patience went to the upkeep of his household, school, and hospital. He took to his tasks with vigor and vitality, mindful that they were part of his pledge to do everything he could for the Pitan. Rizal 4 years there are unparalleled in the history of the Philippines, if not Southeast Asia. Rizal awakened the mind and perspective of Filipino towards nationalism. Rizal's chief aims was to reform Philippine society, first by uncovering its ills and second by awakening the Filipino youth. His enemies were the oppressive colonial government, but especially the corrupt elements among the friars and members of the religious orders that exerted the greatest influence over the government and thereby held complete sway over the lives of the Filipinos. Rizal knew that the best way to awaken the youth and lead them toward the right action was through education, especially foreign education, for local education being controlled by the friars then kept the Filipinos in the dark, ignorant of their rights and heritage, and meek in the face of oppression. This was partly why he left for Spain in 1882 to continue his studies there. That's all. Thank you. Here are some interesting things about Rizal. Rizal had been very vocal against the Spanish government, but peaceful and progressive. Progressive manner, for him, The pen was mightier than the sword, and through his writings he exposed the corruption and wrongdoings of government officials as well as the Spanish friars. While in Barcelona, Rizal contributed essays, poems, allegories, and editorials to the Spanish newspaper La Solidaridad. Most of his writings, both in his essays and editorials, centered on individual rights and freedom, specifically for the Filipino people. As part of his reforms, he even called for the inclusion of the Philippines become a province of Spain. But among his best works, two novels stood out from the rest: Noli Me Tangere, Touch Me Not, and El Filibusterismo, The Reign of the Greed. In both his novels, Rizal harshly criticized the Spanish colonial rule in the country and exposed the ills of Philippine society at the time. And because he wrote about the injustices and brutalities of the Spaniards in the country, the authorities banned Filipinos from reading the controversial books. Yet, they were not a- they were not able to ban it completely. Days before his execution, Rizal bid farewell to his motherland and countrymen through one of his final letters entitled Mi Ultimo Adios, or My Last Farewell. Dr. Jose Rizal was executed in the morning of December 30, 1896, in what was then called Bagong Bayan, now referred to as Luneta. Upon hearing the command to shoot him, he faced his squad and uttered in his final breath, Con summatum est. It is finished. According to historical accounts, only one bullet ended the life of the Filipino martyr and hero. The Americans decided for him to be a national hero during their time in the country. It is said that the American civil governor William Howard Taft chose Rizal to be the national hero as a strategy. Rizal didn't want a bloody revolution in his time, so they wanted him to be a good example to the Filipinos so that the people will not revolt against the Americans. Rizal became a national hero because he passed the criteria by being a national hero during the American period. Here is his progressive education. According to Kennedy 2019, progressive education is a reaction to the traditional style of teaching. It's a pedagogical movement that values experience over learning facts at the expense of understanding what is being taught. When you examine the teaching styles and curriculum of the 19th century, you understand why certain educators decided that there had to be a better way. Talisay, the first progressive school in Asia. Upon his arrival in Dapitan, Rizal lived in the house of Governor and Military Commandant Captain Ricardo Cornicero, which was just across the town's central plaza. He later bought, with Carnicero and another Spaniard residing in Dipolog, a lottery ticket. This was to prove for Fortune's Rizal's lottery ticket won the second prize, 20,000 pesos, which were awarded on September 21, 1892, and promptly divided among themselves the three men. From his share of 66,200 pesos, Rizal gave 2,000 pesos to his father and 200 pesos to pay his debt to his friend Basa in Hong Kong, which, with what remained of his lottery earnings, Rizal was able to move on to Talisay, a coastal barrio of the Pitan poblacion named after the Talisay, a large delicious tree that is usually found along Philippine seashores. Rizal bought a 16-hectare piece of land, but as he noted in his February 8, 1893 letter to his brother-in-law Manuel Hidalgo, there were no talisay trees in Talisay, so Rizal thought of naming his place Baluno or Bauno after the large trees that actually grew there. The first thing he did was to clear the land to sow rice and corn. Then he built a house, a clinic, and a school for local boysho he described as mostly poor and intelligent. On March 7, 1893, he wrote to Hidalgo saying, "My house will be finished either tomorrow or after tomorrow. It is very pretty for its price, 40 pesos, and it turned out better than what I wanted. My lot cannot be better, and I am improving it every day. I'm sure that if you come, you will be pleased with my property. I have plenty of land to accommodate at least 5 families with houses and orchards.
In addition to being the Pitans an official or non-governmental public health provider, Rizal engaged in what we now call social entrepreneurship, perhaps the first Filipino, if not the first Asian, to do so. Social entrepreneurship is an innovative business activity aimed principally at benefiting and transforming the community in which it is undertaken, with most of the profit reinvested back into the community. In his 4 years in Dapitan, Rizal played multiple roles: doctor, social worker, farmer, social entrepreneur, public works engineer, town planner, school founder, teacher, and scientist. He worked with the people as a civic volunteer, for he was unwaged and without an official title. Whatever earnings he made from his social entrepreneurship and his wealthy patients went to the upkeep of his household, school, and hospital. He took his task with vigor and vitality, mindful that they were all part of his pledge to do everything he could for the Pitan. Rizal's 4 years there unparalleled in the history of the Philippines, if not Southeast Asia. Rizal's chief aim was to reform Philippine society, first by uncovering its ills and second by awakening the Filipino youth. His enemies were the oppressive colonial government, but especially the corrupt elements among the friars and members of the religious orders that exerted the greatest influence over the government and thereby held complete sway over the lives of the Filipinos. Rizal knew the best way to awaken the youth and lead them towards the right action was through education, especially foreign education, for local education, being controlled by the friars, then kept the Filipinos in the dark, ignorant of their rights and heritage and meek in the face of oppression. This was partly why he left for Spain in 1882 to continue his studies there.